Over the past 10 years, I have helped hundreds of people lose thousands of pounds, and our main method of fat loss was simply walking. Walking is the best form of exercise to lose weight. It's better than running, weightlifting, and everything else you can think of, and I mean it. When done wrong, however, you will waste months or even years, and that is the typical story that I hear from people. So in this video, I'm going to tell you the most common mistakes I see with my clients and how to fix them when it comes to their walking. Okay, so walking mistakes for fat loss. This is specifically for trying to lose fat. I don't know why a person would care about walking much whenever it comes to building muscle. But the first big mistake, and there's subpoints under this as you can see, is jumping in too fast. So it almost always results in an injury. And that is the real killer I find for a lot of my clients is like whenever the momentum gets going, and you might have experienced this before, whenever the momentum gets going, you're losing weight, you're eating well, and then you get sick or you get injured, or, I mean, it could be like holidays or something as well, but it almost seems worse whenever a person gets sick or injured and they can't do the things that were motivating them to continue doing the things because they, like if you can't work out or walk or whatever for a week and then you put on 2 pounds, it's like, oh my gosh, I just undid everything. And that's not true. That didn't actually happen, but I know it feels like that. I've been there plenty of times myself. So it almost always results in injury due to just jumping in too quickly. Your body isn't used to it. Your feet aren't used to it. Your knees aren't used to it, especially if you have a lot of weight to lose. So I would focus on starting slow. And I know that's a cliche. Oh my gosh, what did I do there? I know that's a cliche thing to say, but it's true. Start with, if you're not used to taking many steps at all per day, not used to working out really, I would start with literally 10 minutes every single day and try to make it a daily thing. I find the more often, if you can take the same, like let's say a person wanted to dedicate to an hour of exercise per week, just to start, I would take that and span that out as much as possible over across, 6 days. So 10 minutes a day or whatever, as often, as many days as possible. Cause I just find that it makes the day more positive and better whenever you've worked out that day. I'm not saying you always have to work out every single day, but that's how I might start. So starting days per week, where would I have you start? I just said I would try to have it 6 days a week if you can. But if you can't, and you're like, I just kind of want to, do a couple days a week, then go ahead, do a couple days a week, at least 2, bare minimum 2. It can't be 1. Ideally, it'd be 3 to 4. Since we're just walking here, it'd be 3 to 4. If you have like weightlifting and stuff, it could be, 5 days total, 4 days total. 2 of them could be walking, 2 of them could be weightlifting. But walking is going to be better for your weight loss. So I would do that. And there's a night light. There we go. So I would start with, aim for like 4, but ideally if you could go up to 6, that'd be great. And remember, you don't want to jump in too fast. So if you're doing 6, you want the time to be lower, which is what oh my gosh, it's what it says right here. So starting minutes per day, I would aim for like, 150 minutes of cardio per week. So that's a little over 2 hours. And I would try to span that out between 6 days if you can. So let's say 150 divided by 6. I would start off with 25 minutes a day if you could. You may as well make that 30. 30 minutes a day, 6 days per week. That's what I would go for. But if you can't do that, that's okay. Maybe do 45 minutes for 3 days a week or whatever. So take 150 divided by the number of days. That's where I would start you and then progress from there. So next is going to be focusing only on steps. So that is a common mistake that people make that I think costs them. It's not simply about the steps. Now, this is a good place to start if you have never done this before and you want to aim for, I'm going to get 8,000 steps a day. That's great. That is going to get you wonderful results. But after a while, the intensity has to be increased. And this could be something like, I don't know if I wrote it here. No, this could be something like speed or incline. I think I talk more about this later in the slides. In the never progressing. So that could be something like speed or incline, or walking with weight on your back or something. Something has to be increased. That's usually most easily done on a treadmill. So if we're talking about walking specifically, I would do it on a treadmill. Or, challenge yourself in the route in your subdivision or wherever you walk, park, whatever. Time yourself and literally try to beat that time. You could beat it by 30 seconds every single time. The faster you go in the same distance means you're more intensely walking during that time, of course. But eventually, I promise, you'll get fast enough. You'll be able to do 2 laps in the time it used to take you to do 1. Now you're doing double the work in the same amount of time, no extra time commitment, and you are, burning double the calories because you did double the work. And that really is how it works. It's not just, if you do double the distance, you're going to burn double the calories. I know it's kind of obvious, but some people don't know that or don't think that's true. Okay, so not all steps are equal. Now, I don't like emphasizing this too much because I don't want you to be overthinking you know, are my steps becoming more efficient or less? I wouldn't worry about it too much, but it's true. They're not all. If you want to lose 12 pounds in your first month, I'm going to give you all of 5 habits that I run all of my clients through. They really love it. It's totally free. So what do you got to lose? You can download it right here or the link in the description. Equal. If you're walking on a 3% incline on a treadmill for 30 minutes, that is going to be a lot higher calorie burn than just a leisurely walk around the neighborhood. So just not focusing on just steps, but like the quality of steps as well. And it could be, a lot of times I'll have a person, and again, I think I talked about this later in the slides, but I have my clients have a step goal, but they also have a cardio goal. So I don't just make it about steps. Now, if a person's like really deep into weightlifting and you're trying to gain as much muscle as possible, I could see a person just having a step goal every day because the intensity is really low. They're not trying to cost themselves the ability to gain muscle. But if you're watching this channel, you're probably focused on fat loss. Of course, I want you to keep all your muscle, which we're going to talk about soon, and build muscle potentially. But you also need to be, focused on the actual cardio side of things and doing actual cardio, not just steps. Okay, so step trackers. I just want to talk about this for a second. They are, in general, very inaccurate. My step tracker, and today is what am I at here? Today's a rest day. 6,248. My foot has been hurting, ironically. So I'm actually taking a day and intentionally, it kills me, but not getting my 14,000 steps. So I'm only at like 6,000 steps. But this step tracker, I can show it to you real quick. It's called Neskla. I'm pretty sure it's the most popular by far pedometer on Amazon. 3D pedometer, Neskla. It's so accurate, and I love it, and they're so cheap. The cheap watches, this is what I always warn people on, the inaccuracy of these things. The cheap watches, I thought that would be a great solution, but it counts like your wrist movements way too easily. I literally tested them, scratched my head, got 10 steps. Imagine I think I did this as well, like beating, the steering wheel while you're driving and you end up with 300 extra steps. That just doesn't, it doesn't count, obviously. So they're just too inaccurate, and I would ignore those. Apple Watches, what is that other brand? I don't know why I'm blanking on it, but any of those like name brand activity trackers, they're gonna be good. And then I would focus on either the pedometer or your phone, but you have to make sure to keep your phone in your pocket all the time. But they are accurate. So number 3 is never progressing. A person tends to never progress. They go on their walks and that's it, and they just walk. And I see people walking, and even if they're walking like a pretty good pace, like an actual kind of exercise pace, I just see them do that time and time again around the track, never increasing. So one, you want to, as your fitness becomes better, you want to increase your intensity. So that might mean an incline on a treadmill. It might mean a speed on a speed setting on the treadmill, or if you're on a Stairmaster, which we're going to talk about, I think. But if you're on a Stairmaster, you could also do speed on, or level, I guess, on the Stairmaster. If you're walking a track, trying to time how long does it take me to walk 10 laps or 21 laps. I think 21 laps is a mile around my gym small track. So something like that, something to increase the intensity, always trying to do more. And believe it or not, you'd never have to turn this into a run, especially if you focus on the incline. Eventually you'll be walking about as fast as you can. And any faster is actually going to be much harder than a run. But working on incline or carrying weight or something like that, which we're going to talk. There's a good segue right here. We'll talk about rucking. So rucking sounds like I'm cursing at you, but I'm not. If you've never heard about rucking, it is throwing weight on your back. There's special rucking backpacks. You don't have to do that at first. I would totally just recommend just getting a drawstring bag, or just a regular backpack would probably be best. And throwing in, water bottles at first, or, books. It doesn't matter. You cinch it pretty tight in your shoulders, hold your shoulders back, gives you good posture, and you walk. At first, your back's going to be a little sore. The muscles are probably going to be really working to hold that up. But it's really cool because you can walk, you can keep your pace relatively like normal. You're not having to like hustle your butt off. But you'll be burning a lot more calories. Carrying 30 pounds is insanely difficult until you get used to it. And then, you can move up to 60. I've never seen anyone, I'm sure there are plenty, especially in the military, but I've never seen anyone like for exercise go for more than 60 pounds. So just something to consider. And the special rucking backpacks, they really are worth it. they are like a specialized product, and so they, are kind of costly. I mean, it's not too bad. I don't know, $100 and something. But then the rucking plates are specially designed for it because they're really thin instead of like a book or something. And the rucking backpack, it actually cinches the plate down so the plate doesn't move. That's super useful. It has a lot of padding because they know that you're going to be carrying a lot of weight, and it's dispersed. Like the straps are in a certain shape. You'll feel it, that it like hugs your shoulders back, and promotes that good posture and opens your chest up so you can breathe. So anyways, rucking, pretty cool. So another way of increasing intensity is obviously increasing distance. So you could walk roughly the same speed at a flat incline, but you walk twice around your neighborhood instead of once, or whatever. And then of course is time, which kind of goes with distance. Of course, it's like the same thing. Like if you walk, twice as far, you're going to be walking longer usually. But I had to put it in here because what if you're literally walking almost double the speed? You will get there. If you're out of shape, you will get to walking almost double the speed. And so now you're going double the distance, but you might be able to also double the time or increase the time by, 1.5 or whatever. So if you're used to walking 30 minutes, now walking 45 minutes at double the speed, you can see how this really builds up and starts to burn a lot of calories. Because as your fitness improves, if you increase the intensity with it, going back to the mistake, which is never progressing, if you are progressing, you are going to be burning more and more and more calories. It gets easier and easier and easier for you to lose fat because you're getting in better shape. So that's key. I will bring it up that if a person doesn't progress, it really is like, it's not a waste of time. Of course, they're going to be healthier. But in terms of fat loss, I shouldn't say I think. I'm 99% sure you actually burn less calories if you don't improve as you improve, as your fitness improves. If you don't increase, you're actually going to be burning less calories. Let's take, for instance, let's just take walking. If you're walking around the neighborhood and at first it's a struggle to go one lap around your, the short loop around your neighborhood or something. And then eventually it's super easy and you're just like moseying on, let's say this is 3 months later and you're just like, this is super, like almost bored, easy. Obviously, your body is more efficiently walking now. You're in better shape. You probably weigh a lot less. And so unless you pick up the pace, unless you pick up the energy, unless you pick up the intensity some way, rucking or whatever, it's actually easier for your body to perform what it used to perform. Now, if you go double the speed, now you're doing double the work in the same amount of time. Yes, you're probably burning more calories. As you get more in shape, all this stuff builds and you're burning more. But if you don't increase with it, and now what used to be difficult to hear is now down here. What used to be difficult to hear is now down here. Then that ease there is just, it's going to cost you. So make sure you're working out hard enough. And then of course is days per week, frequency. And as I said towards the beginning, I wanted to put this right here because I want you specifically trying to increase your days per week. That would be the lowest hanging fruit if possible. Like max that out first. So let's say you're walking 15 minutes a day. I'm just making up a situation. Say you're walking 15 minutes a day for 3 days a week. Instead of walking for 30 minutes 3 days a week, could you walk for 15 minutes, on 5 days a week? Or 4 days a week and then 5 and then 6 and then eventually 7? Because really, a walk you don't need a rest day from walking. If you're walking really intensely, sure, maybe Sunday is a lower intensity day. That's kind of how I do it. I still reach my 14,000 steps usually besides today. I just don't do it with exercise. I just do it by cleaning the house or whatever. So anyways, days per week, that would be the first thing I would improve on. Actually, let's go through the order real quick. So, all right, hypothetically, I didn't plan on doing this. Give me a second. Hypothetically, let's say you're walking 30 minutes a day, 3 days a week. First thing I would do is increase days per week. It could be 30 minutes for 4 days a week or 5. Let's say a person maxed out at 5 days a week. They couldn't do more than that. Then I would increase, time and distance go so close together. So then I would increase time up to like 45 minutes, maybe even an hour. And then I might increase the intensity through incline if it was accessible. But if I'm walking outside, then I would focus on speed. Then when all that was improved, it'd be rucking. So it'd be days per week, time, incline, speed, rucking. I don't know if you need to watch that back. Sorry. Okay. So, thinking walking is enough. That is the mistake number 4. Now I hate to say that because I even have a video and it was kind of like, it was true. in my video where I talked about like how to lose weight only walking, how to go from 30% to 10% body fat only walking. Watch that video next if you want to, or if you haven't watched it yet. So in that video, I talked about a lot of this other stuff. And yes, it is kind of like, well, you said it was only walking and this isn't only walking, but this stuff is just so important. I can't not tell you about it, So eventually I do not believe walking is going to be enough, and it won't take long. It'll take like 3, 4, 5 months. And then you're going to need to do something more. And even over the course of that 3, 4, 5 months, you probably were doing more, but you didn't realize it, usually through diet. So let's talk about this. So thinking walking is enough. So first off, you could switch from walking, or at least like some of your things, to treadmill or Stairmaster. The reason I like the treadmill so much, if you are on the elliptical, and elliptical's great. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just, it has a weakness. And so does the bike, and so does the rowing machine, and so does the arc trainers, and everything else besides treadmill or Stairmaster that I know of. Everything else you can accidentally choose to go slower without even realizing it. So let's say you're on an elliptical and you're on level 1, and then you get better and now you're on a level 8. Well, maybe on level 1, unless you are monitoring your RPMs every single time, which is maddening if you've ever tried to be doing cardio and watching the RPMs, just, no one's going to do that for weeks, months, years on end. So if you improve to a level 8, now that it's harder, you might have accidentally went from 100 RPMs, revolutions per minute, to 60 RPMs. And now, are you burning more calories? Because you're moving slower. And even though it's harder, like you're having to push harder, you're doing so much less. The distance that you were going is so much less. So treadmill, you have to walk. Stairmaster, you have to walk the speed that you set it. So if you're walking 3 miles an hour on the treadmill and you increase the incline to a 10%, and you're not holding onto the handrails, if you can't handle 10%, it's not like you can walk slower to make up for it, because you have to obviously walk the speed of the treadmill or you'll fall off. So as long as you're not holding on and you're able to keep up with it, you have now improved in fitness. So if you're walking, 1% incline 3 miles an hour, and over the course of a few months, now you're walking 7% incline 3 miles an hour, you know that you have improved a lot. And now you're burning that 6% incline increase that you add from 1% to 7%, you're burning all those calories for free, meaning like you're not giving extra time. You're not giving, necessarily extra effort. I mean, yes, it's harder, but you have also improved to the point where you can handle it. So that's why I like it so much. Stairmaster is the same thing. It has a fixed incline though. And as you improve in the level from level 1 to level 8 or whatever, you obviously have improved in your fitness. Next is going to be diet. So, and I wish I'll kind of put these together, diet and protein specifically. I should have put them together there. So next is going to be your diet. You're going to have to decrease calories as you go. As you lose weight, you're going to be naturally burning less calories, because it's like taking off a backpack and now you're a lot lighter, So earlier, whenever I said adding 30 pounds is shockingly difficult, imagine losing 30 pounds. It's shockingly easier, and so you're burning less calories just moving around. So your diet's going to have to, go down. You don't want to go down continually. If eventually you reach like 1,200, 1,300 calories as a female, or like 1,600 as a male, you probably need a diet break, and you just need to let your body readjust for a while. And it's called reverse dieting. I don't know if I necessarily like the term reverse dieting, but anyways, giving yourself a diet break so your body resets. But your diet's going to have to improve, specifically through protein. So let's hop over here. So through protein, you're going to, if you're not eating 1 gram per pound of body weight, I would focus on 1 gram per pound of body weight as you progress. So at first it might just be calorie focus. And then I would start focusing specifically on protein, trying to get 1 gram per pound of body weight. It's more filling to get more protein. It takes more energy to burn to digest the protein. And so you're literally going to be getting extra calorie burn from eating more protein for free, sort of, because your body's working harder to digest it, but you're not having to do anything extra. And that goes hand in hand here with weightlifting. Now, you don't have to do weightlifting to work to lose weight. You really don't. You'll be fine without it, I promise. But my gosh, your quality of life is going to be so much better, especially as you age. It's going to be easier long-term to lose weight because your metabolism is going to be higher, because your lean body mass, which burns so many calories, it's such an inefficient, which is a good thing, such an inefficient tissue. It burns so many more calories than fat just sitting on your body, that you want to be weightlifting to at least keep your muscle during this time. I bet if you're not used to weightlifting, you will build muscle at the same time as losing fat, which will mean the scale will move a little bit slower, but your body composition will improve quicker. Like you'll see, like you'll be like, man, I feel like I've lost more than 10 pounds. I look good. And that's because you probably have lost more than 10 pounds and you've gained a little bit of muscle. So, I kind of already mentioned this on accident. Walking is enough though. And I know that's going to be like triggering to some people. You don't need to lose weight. Like let's take an extreme example. Let's take a 93-year-old, 1 foot in the grave. Walking for them is going to be game changing if they're not used to walking, so walking is enough. Like it is good enough, but I'm telling you, you're going to want to weightlift. It's like, it's almost like it's so good. Like you really want to weightlift, but you don't absolutely need to, but I don't want a person to say, oh, I don't need to. And just like you need to give that a lot of thought. Cause I'm telling you, maybe not now, but in the future, you got to start lifting weights, and I can answer specific questions for you. If you have questions, I talk about it a lot in my videos, but I kind of like, since this is a weight loss channel, I don't talk a whole lot about it, but if there's enough demand for it, I will gladly put up a weightlifting for weight loss, video or 2 or 5 or 10 if it's popular. So, okay. And this one, it's so important. I'm telling you, if you don't do this, this goes all the way back to jumping in too fast and almost always results in injury. There's a way of making sure that you can jump in faster and not get injuries. I'm telling you, an injury will derail you completely. It's the one thing I've never been able to overcome with clients. If they're injured and they can't move, like let's say it's a bad lower body injury, horrible plantar fasciitis, something like that. It's really hard if I'm like, crutches, a wheelchair. I've done wheelchairs before with my clients where, they didn't necessarily need the wheelchair, but for exercise, they would go and get, I'm telling you, it's a lot harder than you think. So let me know if you're injured and you need help. I can brainstorm with you. Literally, I will help you individually in the comments, if you want. But shoes and foot care. I don't know if I ever said what the mistake was. I'm sorry, I was rambling. But mistake here is, not taking care of your feet and not wearing the right shoes. So almost always derailed by injury. If a person is not taking care of their feet or they jump into it too fast, they're almost always derailed by injury. It's so hard to overcome because the momentum, the mental boost that you get from exercising and feeling that sense of accomplishment, the dopamine rush you get from I did this hard thing and look at me go, that's gone. It's so hard to overcome that. So you don't need to be perfect. So like, let's say your feet hurt and you planned on working out 4 days that week, but you only walked 3. Rest them. That's fine. You don't need to be perfect, but we just don't want this to lead to like no walking at all. So I would recommend foot rolling and toe exercises. I'll tell you a couple toe exercises. My favorite one, or 2. So first, there's like these like spiky balls on Amazon that are, pretty cheap. Just roll out the plantar fascia of your foot. I don't know if it works. It really feels like it helps me. I think research shows it actually doesn't help. If you have plantar fasciitis, something that does help is icing your foot, and you can roll it at the same time by taking a water bottle, dumping a little bit of water out so it doesn't get, it doesn't expand past the bottle or whatever. Freeze it, and then roll your foot on that, and then you kind of ice it and roll it at the same time. And then there's these specialty foot rollers. I've never tried them, but just want to tell you about it. They claim you'll see like ridges in them, and the ridges run a certain way that are supposed to increase blood flow to your plantar fascia, which is, going to promote healing. That's the reason the plantar fascia, it's so difficult for plantar fasciitis to go away, is because the blood flow is so limited there. It's just not the best place, the fibrous material of the fascia. So anyways, foot rolling, toe exercises. So put a towel on the ground on like your kitchen, some type of tile somewhere it slides. Put your foot on it, and then let your toes grab the towel and pull the towel in, and then keep pulling the towel in until it's like really bunched up under your toes. Look up, I think they're called toe scrunches or something. Towel scrunches. I don't know, but literally from the description, I hope that makes sense. Foot, there's a towel, and the toes grab the towel and pull the towel in, pull until it like you can't really do it anymore, and then you reset. So the towel starts flat. That'll kind of work the arches of your foot. And then one of my favorites, I think this is a test, but I use it as an exercise, is to stand like 4 inches, 5 inches away from a wall. You put your hands up just to make sure you don't bump yourself. And then you lean into the wall using only your toes to push yourself back. And then you do that like, as you get close to the wall and you push yourself back with your toes. You do that for reps. And I'm telling you, it's crazy how much your feet are working to push you back because it's just your toes, nothing else. Toe spacers, they help me so much. If you're used to wearing narrow shoes, which we're about to talk about, your toes might be, what is that called when the big toe? Leave it in the comments. If you're watching this far, you're an MVP. Leave it in the comments. What's it called when the big toe kind of goes in and then that bunion? No, it's not a bunion. I don't know what it's called. Maybe it's a bunion. But toe spacers will naturally splay your toes out. It's what's called splaying. And at first, my feet were sore. It kind of hurt. Not hurt, but they were tired. And now my toes are wide. It's nice. I'm telling you, it's helped my arches so much. I've struggled with plantar fasciitis my whole life. Now I don't. I mean, sometimes it kind of comes back because I walk a lot. But it's just amazing. The toe spacers really allowed it. Now I don't even wear them. Once they're it's almost like stretching. Once they're stretched enough that they can do that, then the muscles of your arch improve enough that it keeps that. It allows them to get there, and then you improve on that strength. So you don't have to wear them forever. I wore them for I don't know, 3 months maybe. Not the whole time, obviously. At first I put them on 10 minutes a day. Then I put them on for walks. Then I put them on at night because then it would just, keep my toes for 8 hours splayed out. And then a few times I have worn them all day long, even in my shoes, which you're going to need a special shoe if you want to do that, which will be a good segue here. Barefoot shoes versus support. Now, I do think, I'm not a barefoot cult member, but I am a big fan of barefoot shoes, at least for myself. My plantar fasciitis never went away until I started training it to actually do the job of supporting my feet. Instead of using shoes to support, my arches learned to support and to get strong again. Now you have to ease into it. You have to wear it for 5 minutes a day. And if you're only 5 minutes a day, I would just be barefoot inside your house for 5 minutes a day. But, building up to either, for me, I'm either wearing my barefoot shoe, which has nothing in the bottom of it. I mean, it has a little bit, if I stepped on a nail, at least it wouldn't go through. It probably would go through the shoe, but I don't know. So maybe it's not helping. There's barely anything there. So I'm either wearing my barefoot shoe when I'm out, or I'm wearing nothing. And sometimes I go for walks if the weather permits, and it can be pretty cold. I will go for walks completely barefoot or in my socks, just to work on it even further. But for me, that really helps. I never wear supportive shoes, supportive insoles, anything like that. But I've had to build into that. So I think a person should. I'm wondering if everyone could build into it. I don't know. I know some people, especially in an older population, they need that support, and that's okay. Make sure to have that support. But here's what I would get. I would get a barefoot shoe that allows your toes to splay. They're pretty cheap, on Amazon and stuff. And there's pretty good ones. And even the ones that are more name brand, I have more name brand ones like Xero, Xero. And there's a new one, Born Primitive. Born Primitive, I think, is the company. I'm going to get their shoes. I'm not sure how good they are, but they look awesome. They look a lot better. But I do think the heel's raised up a little bit. So barefoot will have a completely flat, just like you would be walking on your foot, which is good. It'll reduce pressure on the Achilles tendon and everything. But anyways, barefoot shoes, building into needing less and less support. But if you need that support, what I would do is get a barefoot shoe and get an insole for that support so that the splaying of the toes can still happen. And the zero drop, or the barely, it's called zero drop whenever your heel is, I don't know why it's called zero drop. I guess your toes aren't dropped down. I don't know, but your heel's in line with your toes, completely flat. So you can have that zero drop or just a little bit of a drop combined with the splaying of the toes, but you'll have that arch support. So that'll really help you.